Okay, so can we start? Okay, thank you. Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for coming to our session. Our session titled Leveraging Regional Synergy for Climate Resilient Water Management in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. My name is Yumiko Asayama, Chief Manager of Japan Water Forum and also the coordinator of Asia Pacific Water Forum. Asia Pacific Water Forum is organizing 4 Asia Pacific focus sessions in Stockholm Water Week 2025, and this is the last one. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this important session convened by APWF together with ADB, ADPC, ISIMOT, UMI, and IUCN Asia. Hindu Kush Himalaya, often referred to as the third pole, is one of the world's most vital water towers, yet it is also one of the most vulnerable. Accelerated glacial melt, shifting hydro pattern, and increasing frequency floods, drought, and glacial lakes outburst flood are already reshaping lives and livelihood across the Hindu Kush Himalaya region. The risks are profound, not only for mountain community, but also for nearly 2 billion people downstream who really rely on these rivers for water, food, energy, and ecosystem. No single country can address these cascading challenges alone. This is why today's session focuses on the power of regional cooperation and science diplomacy to bridge divides, close knowledge gap, and mobilize collective action. Throughout this session, we will explore how science, policy, and practice can come together to strengthen collective research and data sharing, including the active engagement of youth and local community. Address critical threats such as peak water, erratic precipitation, and growth through landscape approach and nature-based solution. Scale up community-led adaptation, combining local wisdom with scientific innovation. And importantly, mobilize finance and incentive needed to turn idea into action on the ground. We, APWF, are fortunate to have with us a group of leading the regional and international institutions who will share the pathway to practical strategy. Together, they bring diverse expertise from science and data platform to disaster risk reduction, nature-based solutions, and financing mechanisms, and integrated water resource management. Now, let me briefly introduce today's program flow of this session. Our session is designed not only to share knowledge, but also to connect ideas, actors, and solutions, laying the groundwork for climate-resilient Hindu Kush Himalaya region built on cooperation, innovation, and trust. Firstly, keynote presentation by Dr. Shabas Khan, Vice Governing Council Chair of APWF and Director of UNESCO Beijing, which will set the stage by outlining the major climate and water challenges facing the Hindu Kush Himalayas and the importance of regional collaboration. Next, we will move on to the heart of the session, 5 action pathways. Each convening organization in this session will present a focused solution area, highlighting both challenge and emerging responses. These insights will be also complemented by a short video on the river Indus. Building on this pathway, we will then transition into an interactive panel discussion. After the panel, we will open the floor for a Q&A session, encouraging your input from both in-room and also online participants. To conclude, each speaker of this session will share a final action point, detailing the key takeaway moving forward. Then we will close with summary, reflection, and invitation for continuous collaboration from our moderator. I encourage all of us to use this space not only to exchange insight, but also to identify opportunity for deeper collaboration. Building a climate-resilient Hindu Kush Himalaya will require not less than solidarity, innovation, and trust across the borders. Thank you once again for joining us this morning session. I now would like to invite Dr. Shabas Khan to setting the scene to deliver a presentation for regional cooperation in Hindu Kush Himalaya. And he should be online, but, okay. So unfortunately, he's still not online, so maybe we will need to move on to the introduction from introductory first talk from each speaker, I think. Yes, thank you. So now I would like to invite Faisal to moderate session with our speaker here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yumiko, and thank you, colleagues, for joining the session, both on spot and online. I believe we have quite a few people attending this session online. And then, we are expecting a keynote speech from Dr. Shabazz, which we will bring in somewhere in the middle. It is really too early in the morning for him. So to proceed with the panel session, I'll request our colleagues who are here with us. I would like to introduce Dr. Vishwaranjan Sinha, who is there with us online. He's from IUCN, Senior Program Officer in South Asia IUCN. Then we have with us Dr. Alok Sikha. He is country representative for India and Bangladesh at IMI. With expertise in watershed management and water resilience and agricultural water systems. Then we have with us Dr. Chinggong Chang. He is strategic group lead for climate and environment at ECMOD, specializing in cryosphere science, climate modeling, and science policy integration. Then we have with us Dr. Declan F. Maggie from ADB. He's principal economist. He'll be joining us online. Then last but not least, we have Dr. Seneka Basniak from ADPC. He's leading climate resilience services at ADPC. So I request my in-person colleagues if they can come on spot. Yeah. At the dais. Yeah. At the dais. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we'll begin with some brief presentations from the institutions, which are ECMOD, ADPC, IMI, and IUCN, who will be giving their experiences, learning on their work on water and resilience in the HKH region. So following that, we'll have panel and interactions. I'll request Dr. Chang to begin with these presentations. Yeah, Dr. Chang, over to you.
Okay.
Please. Yeah, sure.
Yes, the first one. Okay.
Dr. Alok, I request you to also join us. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So I'm happy and my honor to be here to introduce our solutions to address this regional crisis or water issues in this unique region. So I'm from ECMOD and Changgong, and my presentation is a regional science platform because we know that ECMOD is an intergovernmental organization here. So shall I?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Please continue.
Okay. So as we know that here is we call it third pole, and we also call it the Hindu Kush Himalaya because it's have the largest aggregate of ice outside of the polar regions, and also 10 biggest rivers regionally here, and it's feeding over 2 billion people on the earth. So I don't have even more words to say the importance of these areas. And also, as ISMOD, we propose this slogan as protecting our rivers and securing our futures. It's because here you can see that it's the most densely populated areas in the world. And, but at the same time, we can see also that the decisions are usually not from these regions. And this is why that we really need to raise up the voice from the local regions also. But from these regions, I think there's also a very prominent problems here. So we can see that we call it either or much water or less water. You can see that because of the global warming, and the snow and glaciers start melting, and it will induce more waters here. But at the same time, in the lowland, sometimes it's facing the drought. So in some regions, it's facing the more water, and sometimes it faces less water. So this more water or less water usually induce many problems, including allergies, food, and also floods, and also economies. So how to address these issues? So we know that ISMOD is an intergovernmental organization established in 1983. So we have 8 regional member countries. And our vision and mission is that to share and create knowledge across these regions, and also bring the solutions together, to bring the people's stakeholders together to address these issues collectively. So let's see that we have different levels of responding challenges. So from local level, we can see that we already developed this early warning flood system-based, community-based. So we already installed this community-based early warning system across these regions, and also developed some tools, apps, to really send the message to every people that live in the regions to reduce the risks. So another thing is that we also have this sub-national and subnational and also the national scale. So we also develop the tools to help the policymakers and also those people who want to assess the knowledge and products to really see the information in these regions. So another one is we also established the transboundary and the regional skills workshop to bring the stakeholders together, to bring all the people together to share knowledge and also share information, and also discuss about the actions here. So also we have these global actions. So we bring this voice from the local people, local governors together to really have this agenda on the global issues or on the global agenda. So here I want to give some detailed examples. So the first thing is you can see that from the last 5 years, we already issued 2 landmark assessments. One is HIMAP and one is HIVICE. So in these reports, we already incorporate the latest knowledge and also the updated science together to really think about or assess the problems across the regions as an integrated. And also, we focus on the transboundary river basins. So here you can see that we focus on 3 transboundary river basins. One is Indus, Ganges, and also Yalozambu, Brahmaputra rivers. So we published this knowledge products and assessment to help people to understand that this issue is not ends with a border, but we need to think about it in the whole basin perspective. And also, we created some hubs and platforms. So we can see that this either based on the basin wise and also at the thematic knowledge hubs. So you can see that from the thematic perspective, we already created this disaster knowledge hub and also the cryosphere knowledge hub. So we bring the scientists, researchers together to share knowledge and also discuss about how to really think about these regions as a whole to address these issues. So this event happens 2 days before, in Monday. So we have this yearly annual dialogue to bring 5 countries, people, scientists together to think about how to monitoring the cryosphere in a standardized way and also to integrate knowledge, latest cryosphere monitoring together to address these issues. And also in the higher level, we also build up this regional high-level task force for the regional cooperation. So the key or the core value is that we want to build the trust across these regions, because when people come together, we focus on one issue and we build the trust, and we have the cooperation. And from the higher level, you can see that from science data to the regional cooperation, we also bring the ministry level together. So mean that we really want to impact the policymakers, so bring the ministry together and inform their knowledge, and inform the situation, and ask them to take action. So we can see also that from 2024, and even this year, we also engaging the parliamentaries in national policies and legislation. So this will help that really we inform the policy and let the policy to really drive the change. So we can see here examples that the Bhutan government already engaged like 5 billion local currency to address these issues to help this green development. So anyway, in summary, so ISMOD, we are working to create and share knowledge and also bring the people together. And we are the community of others. So we are working here for over 40 years to build the trust and also to facilitate and foster the strength to really address these water issues, transboundary issues. So this is my last slide, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chang. Interesting to see that how knowledge is produced by bringing the thematic experts together, and then again use that evidence and science to bring the policy makers and politicians together to understand that evidence and knowledge, and then make decisions, informed decisions in a collaborative way. Thank you very much, Dr. Chang. And moving forward, we'll go towards ADPC, Dr. Seneka, to have his experiences and his institution's experiences on the climate resilience and cooperation.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. Very good morning and good afternoon to our online speakers from Asia. I'm going to present a case study which ADPC as a Disaster Preparedness Center had in the Hindu Kush region, that is actually transboundary flood resilience in Nepal and India. So a few years back though, but it's still, I would say that not relevant to present day context. So this project funded by GRP, Global Resilience Partnership, so we implemented with Lutheran World Relief, Nepal office, as well as, of course, ADPC. We provided technical support. So what we realized when visiting the region, of course, there was a kind of like, so much of flooding happening from the upstream to, of course, downstream. So this is the good example, 2008, I think everybody knows from the region, 2008 Koshi flood. So based on that, of course, we thought of like developing that proposal as well. And you can see the transboundary systems, maybe other colleagues, speakers, fellow speakers will also be speaking the same. So we have kind of like, very kind of river system there. So then, as I was mentioning, the project supported by this, the GRP, and then this was implemented 2017 to 2018. So this is also another the satellite image example for the same event, 2018. So maybe there was an issue with the sort of like, maybe the dam failure in that particular area. So 2008, September 1st, probably, you can see the compare there. You can compare the flood situation in that particular region. So we have seen, of course, we all know that there are some challenges when it comes to flood in these, transboundary countries. So in Nepal, as per the figures, as we have gathered 150,000, 56,000 people in Nepal, as well as more than that, quite higher than that, actually 10.5 million people in India every year, they are facing sort of flood situations in both the Koshi River. So we focus both the rivers, Koshi as well as Gandak and Narayan. And I have taken from these figures from WRI. So the climate change for the exacerbate, the glacier melting, which is the sort of discussion today as well. In Himalayas, as well as annual, it also leads to annual flooding in downstream areas. So, flood disrupt, they are like, the community livelihoods because of this annual flooding. as well as it takes long time because there are some systems in both the countries, Nepal as well as India. But when it comes to communities, it takes a longer time to communicate that information to a grassroots level. So that's that's a sort of challenge. So the opportunity we have seen in the project, what we did actually, so we were able to get this two neighboring communities connected, because India, Nepal, you all know probably, and it's a free border kind of thing, and they have sort of cultural linkages as well as sort of socio-economic ties. So it was so easy for us to get connected these two communities and then pass that information to downstream if there will be any flood situation or heavy rainfall situation to the north or the upstream. As I was mentioning, there are, of course, policies and frameworks in both the countries. There are, of course, treaties way back from 1920 as well. So the India as well as Nepal, they have own setups. And as I was keep mentioning, highlighting the fact that it takes time to communicate or get that information to, let's say, in Bihar area in India. So it goes to national agencies from Nepal to Central Water Commission, the way that I understand, from Delhi, and then it goes to then Bihar. It takes time. So the way that we did it here, actually connecting both the communities upstream and downstream. So this the diagram shows the approach, our approach in that national early warning protocols we felt at that time. So it takes nearly 48 hours to bring to communicate that information to the grassroots level. So the TBR, Transboundary Resilience Project, this project, we were trying to increase that flow to 24 hours because we were helping the upstream community, providing some local level rain gauges and other things, and to measure waters as well as water level, and then communicate to the downstream using SMS systems. And yeah, the other beauty of this effort is we were able to use or set up. They do have, of course, the citizen forums upstream as well as downstream. So we educated them how to communicate, how to measure those levels, and communicate to the grass or the downstream level through the SMS. So we had this type of engagement with the local people, and spoke to disaster management communities, local level communities, and then we were able to set up some sort of transboundary citizen forums, and then we educated, as I was mentioning, in both the countries. And during this process, we kind of conducted, whenever we do the simulation and drills, we also did some sort of the team building activities. You can see from this one, drills and simulation in both the cases, both the upstream as well as downstream. In addition to that simulations, we also did drills as well. And towards the end of the project, we were able to convene the meeting in both the countries, national level. So in Nepal, we had in Kathmandu, so we were able to get DMH and other respective organizations at that time. So at that time, 2017 and 2018, by the way, so NDRRMA was not there. It was established 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So at that time, Minister of Home Affairs was that they had the early warning systems, EOC at that time. In India, we had a similar workshop in Delhi. We organized that workshop under another project by combining or collaborating with the TROSA project that they have been implementing. So finally, we came up with this, the report, Transboundary Early Warning System in Nepal and India. The report contains the policy landscape for framing DRR as well as early warning in Nepal as well as India. And then we also did situation analysis, early warning system in both the countries. And also we provide the analysis of the pattern of the floods in both the cases, 2008, the worst case scenario, as well as when we were implementing in 2017, there was flood events. So we also did some, the analysis on that. And we also provide some sort of evaluation, transboundary early warning in two basins and some sort of recommendations. So 10 recommendations we came up. I don't like to go through all. But basically, it says that, to sort of closely work together and then improve with the SOPs. Not only SOPs, I think nowadays we are talking about synergized SOPs. That's also important. It's not a single department, so it's a kind of two countries. So other couple of departments, we need to have synergized SOPs. And then, of course, we have been promoting Transboundary Citizens Forum. It was so successful in that particular context in the Nepal. It may not be the case in other transboundary situations as well. I stop here, so happy to respond to questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Seneka. An excellent example of transboundary early warning system, integration of technology, and then bringing in communities. Putting such early warning system even within a boundary context is challenging, but putting it in a transboundary is really exemplary. I'm sure there are ways to scale those efforts and then take the journey forward. So thank you very much, Dr. Seneka. We'll move forward to our colleague, Dr. Alok from International Water Management Institute, to share with us his learning experiences and IMI's work on climate resilience in water. Over to you, Dr. Alok.
Thank you very much. And so now I think already some of the challenges have been mentioned by our colleague from EC Mode, so I'll be briefly touching because I have stored about 6 to 7 minutes, so I haven't got many slides. And so the idea is basically to try and touch some of the things which we are doing in terms of water management in this region, in the HKH region, and not just limiting only to the upper hills, but also like all the western, central, and the eastern Himalayas. And here you will see, because the thing is, basically, we are trying to really looking into the upstream, downstream linkages. Because you just can't separate it one from the another, and that's the key point about that. And when you look at the challenges are different in the upper reaches than the lower reaches, as the previous speaker from ADPC has also mentioned, that even if it doesn't rain in Bihar, Bihar gets flooded because of the rains in the upper catchment and so on and so forth. And then that also leads to various opportunities, because there are many opportunities also, but all these things will have a cascaded impact. Because what happens that whenever anything is happening, it has a cascaded impact on the agriculture, on the economy, on the ecology, and the livelihood. And this is something which is really very, very important, because all these things, with the snow melt and the glacier melt, they do impact the irrigation system, navigation system, agriculture, and all the livelihood-related activities. So that's something that we want to put it as a cascading impact of this thing on the economy and the agriculture and the livelihoods. Now, going forward, I would just touch upon that, how at IMI we are looking at it. We look at it in a more as an integrated water risk management and integrated water resource management. And when you are trying to look at it in a more holistic way, you have to try and start with doing the water accounting and some kind of a modeling work to try and see that how much really is that you are getting in terms of flows in various forms, and how with the climate change it is likely to be getting impacted. So that's one thing, and then we are also looking into the water accounting, meaning the water fluxes, which are really going to be looking into that. So that's something that, as you can see here, the picture shows some of the work which we have done in the Ganges on using the integrated hydrological modeling. We are not just doing only just the surface, but we are doing the integrated hydrological modeling. And then again, as my colleague from ADPC was talking about the water risk management, my colleague Giriraj is here, and what he was talking about the floods. So we have been working on index-based flood insurance in Bihar, rightly so, as you said, and also bundling of insurance with other agricultural systems and the products, advisories, and the seeds and everything. Because it's not just the one approach which will work. Same is the South Asia drought monitoring system, which covers the entire South Asia, including the HKH region. So those are the kind of a thing that we are really looking into to drive home at the integrated water risk management, and that is why now we are embarked on a project called Integrate, where we are doing integrated flood and drought risk management and coming with the catchment resilience index, the CRI. And so this is something that we are working on. And then on the water supply augmentation and the demand management. On the supply side augmentation, because what is happening is basically we are now looking into the water harvesting, spring share management, because springs are the lifeline and they are really getting dwindle. And so that is one thing which is very, very, very important in this case is integrated storage, which hardly anybody is talking about. We have to look at the integrated surface water, groundwater, and the soil moisture and the snow storages, and also then followed by the demand management, where we are doing many, many things, including the solar irrigation, multiple water use systems, because what happens particularly in the hills, with smaller holdings, multiple water use systems, they really matter a lot. And so that is something that we are really looking to the water governance. Now, so these are the few of the slides where you will see what we have been doing in the Nepal Himalayas in terms of the water accounting and also the climate change impact using the modeling work. And this is something that which we have done in terms of the integrated storage assessment and integrated storage management. This is in the Ramganga project, sub-basin, using the satellite data and the bathymetric. And also we have done the snow, soil moisture, groundwater for Nepal using the satellite data, as you will see. Because what we are trying to be really looking into is integrated way of looking at the storage management. And then some of the things which we have been working on was, as I said, the spring shed management, because spring rejuvenation is really very important. And again, the mainstreaming of multiple water use systems, because the same drop of water can be used for many purposes. So how best you can really improve the overall economic water productivity following the multiple water use systems. And in the hills, because of the remoteness and the elevation difference, even if the water is there, but water is not accessible, so we are really looking into this solar irrigation systems, multi-lift and many other, and also we have come up with, for Nepal and India, and now also looking into, in Bangladesh, solar irrigation pump sizing tool. And so finally, I leave you with the fact that, as my colleague from EC Mode was talking about, we have been also engaged with various knowledge forums. As you can see on the left-hand side of the slide, we started out sometimes back with the Indus Knowledge Forum and also the Science Policy Dialogue. Here you'll see on the right-hand side, we were having a US Department of State's project where we have a cohorts from the South Asia region for all this basin, this HKH countries, and where we have been working on this integrated storage and other things. So finally, I leave you that because of this interconnectedness and interdependencies, I think we have to look at this entire thing in a more integrated, holistic way, and with a nexus approach, water, energy, food, environment nexus, and this is where, and following the multi-stakeholder approach. So thank you very much from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Alok, sharing us vast suite of solutions which EC Mode is carrying at various geographies, and then also bringing it in the knowledge forums and interactions with the policies. Moving forward, we'll go online. We have with us Dr. Vishwa Sinha from IUCN, who will be talking about nature-based solutions. Over to you, Dr. Sinha. Yeah, no, you're unmute yourself, please.
I've unmuted myself. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see you. If you want, we can share your screen from here. Okay, we can see the screen also. Okay, good.
Okay, good. So thank you very much. So I will take a little time to just try to trigger, everyone thought on the issue of nature-based solution and youth engagement, because we are talking about leveraging regional synergies. And if you look at HKH region, it includes 4 of the global 35 biodiversity hotspots. 85% of the people still depend on the nature. And more than 1/3, which is around more than 70 million people, are below 35 years of age. So clearly, nature-based solution is a good entry point, and the engagement of youth is the future if we are talking about regional cooperation and science, bridging the science policy diplomacy gap. So I will be talking about 3 things. One is what is our understanding of the priority issues when we talk about nature-based solution, and how we implement it. And this builds on the survey that we did in South Asia, where we interviewed more than 50 governments. And then going into one real context of Meghna River Basin, which is shared by India and Bangladesh and is called Barak in India, to understand that how we are trying to mainstream these ideas on NBS youth engagement, how we are taking the theory to the practice. So this is a report that is online, enhancing water sector resilience through nature-based solution in South Asia. And when we asked more than 50 government officials from 4 different countries, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, two big things that came and also is was highlighted by other speakers before me is the increasing in frequency and intensity of flash floods, and water scarcity and increasing vulnerability to droughts. And basically, number 2, the water scarcity, dry spring is a reason, but if you talk to government, the bigger concern is about food security, because water security is linked to the food security. So these are the big concern. And when we also try to understand that what are the gaps when we talk about nature-based solution and its real application, and 5 big gaps were highlighted by everyone. So first is the inadequate understanding of the multiple benefits of nature-based solution.
Dr. Sinha,
And that's, yes.
your slides not moving. Yeah. Do you want us to move the slides or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay.
Maybe I can stop sharing or try again.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me try the other one. No, after this, the slide. Yeah. Inadequate understanding, policies working in silos, strategic engagement of the rural and youth in indigenous communities in the process of development of the plans and policies, poor monitoring and evaluation. And then this poor monitoring and evaluation also builds on our poor understanding of multiple benefits of nature-based solution. And then comes the funding constraint. So because if we look at, so through this survey, we found that a lot of government spending is happening on the climate resilient, and government in the HKH region still remains the biggest contributor or financer of the nature-based solution. And there are different strategies that the government are applying. So this includes the formation of a climate trust funds. Like in Pakistan, there is the Ecosystem Restoration Fund, which was launched at a COP with World Bank support. Then Bangladesh has applied Bangladesh Climate Change Trust Funds. So these are the different kinds of funds that the government at national level have initiated to support or fund the climate change or environmental development. Payment of ecosystem services is another big tool that the government are increasingly applying. And PES has one advantage, because PES actually helps us find a monetary way to distribute the benefits among the different stakeholders. In Bhutan, there is Bhutan for Life, which is a big initiative, and it is working on through government brokering deals between, say, the protecting communities and the hotels in Nime Nichu watershed in Bhutan. And there are such other examples from India. Also, Meghalaya is working with World Bank on the application of PES. But still what we see is that these schemes are very much, donor funded or, government funded. And there is a need to rethink the sustainability strategy when we are thinking about the long-term financing. Then there are also policy provisions that governments are kind of tackling or kind of changing to increase private sector participation. And one very good example is the amendment to the Companies Act in India in 2013, which made it compulsory for every private sector company of certain size to invest at least 2% of their earnings on social causes. And what it has done is that it has increased the investment from the private sector in India, or it has doubled it since 2013 to almost 35 million US dollars. So these are the different ways in which the government are trying to get funds, and multilateral funding mechanisms are also being utilized. But in a nutshell, the national government still remains the one big funding agency for the NBS or climate resilient activities. Next slide. So this slide, not going into detail, but when we think about, because where our understanding and capacity is when we link it with the nature-based solution. So it is still at a very nascent stage. When we talk to the governments, of course, at a higher level, there is understanding, but when you have to really implement it at different levels, you see the different ways in which nature-based solution is understood. Even we have got these kinds of answers that a large scale interlinking of rivers is an example of nature-based solution, which it is not. So what we proposing is that we need to have a very focused approach, which is maybe a six-step strategy, where we start with the creation of a national or subnational NBS hubs or task force, which will have different technical committees. And this task force works on development of national NBS strategies, which builds on the research and implementation of the project that this task force can facilitate. So what we see as the big gap in terms of understanding, which is hindering the development and implementation of nature solution, it is the understanding of the current state of ecosystem services, the cost benefit analysis of how NBS compares with other solutions. And we also see that there are many times we have the case studies, but when the governments have to implement, they feel that they lack a clear standard operating procedure when they have to think about a nature-based solution project, its financing or implementation. So what we are proposing, so not going into the detail, but through our work with ADPC and partners, we came up with this publication, which is online and which is proposing a six-step strategy for mainstreaming nature-based solution at national or subnational level. Next one, please. So this is the part, the theory part. Can you click once more? So now going into the real action. So, I mean, you have to build the capacity, and there is a scope and funding constraints, so we cannot work at a very large scale. But within the Barak-Meghna River Basin, which is shared by India and Bangladesh, and you see the map here on the right of the basin. So it's in the northeastern part of India and northeastern part of Bangladesh. And India is basically fully green and with forest, and the Bangladesh part is more croplands. So, and we also have to understand that we are working in a certain geopolitical context where it is very difficult to bring in government in the current context on a common dialogue table. And that's where we have seen that technical entry points like nature-based solution can be useful. So how we are working, we have started a long-term process, 2 to 3 years, starting with the capacity building of a stakeholder, engaging youth in data collection process, and partnering with local or national institution to develop a strategy for climate resilient development of selected districts in India and Bangladesh. So it's a long-term process, and what we see is that when you talk about capacity, it shouldn't be just one workshop or one dialogue, but there is a need to build a long-term engagement plan with the engagement of governments, youth, private sector. They understand the process of development and lead it, which leads to its adoption at the end. And the last one, please.
Yeah, please.
Can you go to the last one, please? Yeah. So this is the last slide, and that's where I feel that there is a big role of promoting basin level, regional level basin dialogue platform, which can engage youth. And that's where we are working in the Meghna Knowledge Forum. So recently we concluded the second Knowledge Forum, and we are working with more than 16, 17 partners in the river basin to build it as a platform for knowledge and exchange and a platform for future collaboration. So what we did is that this is where we really promoted nature-based solution and its understanding. And youth were given a very strategic role and were at the forefront, doing youth forums, getting data from the grounds, from the wetland, and disseminating it through the strategy of exhibition area, through sessions. So they really led, the Meghna Knowledge Forum and build their capacity and regional networks, so better understanding of youth, how youth feels in the India side or Bangladesh side, how they can work together, how they can be more friendly. So this actually could bring more than 120 participants from 80 different institutions. And going forward, I think one of the challenges that we want to address is that how to make such a forum sustainable, how we can bring in more partners and use it as a platform for science policy, diplomacy, and advocacy. Thank you. Just the last slide, Dr. Fazil, some questions which our participants and others, the speakers can think about is, in what ways can nature-based solutions serve not just ecological goals, but also build trust and cooperation across borders in politically sensitive regions like the HKH. So this is one of the big important point, because we have to understand the context that we are working in. How can youth-led science diplomacy challenge traditional power structures and bring fresh perspective to the transboundary water governance? And final question is, what would a truly inclusive regional platform look like? One that centers indigenous knowledge, youth innovation, and climate justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sinha. Very interesting insights on water resilience priorities, varying from geographies to economies. With the and then I think your 6 steps approach is really important to scale those approaches. And interestingly, you left us with some homework. Before we put you in some questions, you put question to our audience. So let us see that what kind of answers comes in. Dr. Sinha mentioned about some sort of potential financing, which is being done by CSR, local governments, multilateral governments. We have another very interesting presenter, Mr. Declan, coming from ADB, who will be talking about financing on the nature-based solution and other water resilience projects. Dr. Declan, over to you. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Dr. Shabazz, if we can see you. So we missed you early morning. I did mention that it is very early morning for you there. So I would like to request Dr. Shabazz to give context setting. It is not just context setting, but it is very interesting insights on the HKH region, which very well connects with our previous presentations. Over to Dr. Shabazz.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Faisal, dear colleagues. I'm really sorry we misunderstood the time slot. I was with the Guangdong government in China, so we were finishing that meeting and I rushed into this one. So thank you for the presentations, which are already going very well, and for Faisal to take a lead role. So I will be very brief in highlighting that this is a very important region, from the melting of the glaciers to the flow of waters, and I would say linking with the livelihood of the people, and especially the role of the diplomacy, what can be done to bring transboundary cooperation. Next, please. So I don't need to speak to the facts. I'm sure all of you are very well versed about the number of countries this region represents, and very interesting countries from a point of view of water diplomacy, from the point of view of diplomacy for the livelihoods. So we need all the best ideas in the world to have the transboundary cooperation, because it affects 1.9 billion people, and very important people, and some of the people in the room, but also it affects the people which are not part of this region as well. And interestingly, the summer flows, for example, in the upper Indus basin, where I come from, is strongly dependent on what comes from the glaciers, more than 45%, and these numbers continue, and these trends are not so good. Our colleagues from ICMA doing wonderful work have highlighted the glaciers melting faster than what we already know. The work from IUCN we have just seen, and the work from IMI and others really demand that we need to have integrated approaches, understanding these rates of melt. Friends of Democratic Pakistan, a very important part of the work of United Nations and the related member states, have always highlighted that we need to understand what opportunities are because of the glaciers melting and what are the challenges into future. So our session is very important today. Next, please. So, in the context of the water systems, which I started to highlight, we are experiencing already climate change from a point of view of and not just more flows, but also low flows. But also, you are observing now what we call the cloud bursts linked with what is going on in terms of the snow and ice, but there is hazards which have become amplified with the risks of floods. Upper catchments of Pakistan, for example, are very, very badly impacted, linked with the deforestation, with the gloves and whatever we can link with. And then we have been highlighting the black carbon pollution is speeding up the processes in a very strong way. And the glacial lake outbursts are endangering lives. Many people have lost lives, unfortunately, in the recent past. And the springs are drying. The climate change predictions and the links with the pre-industrial levels, I think we have all the facts and the figures. The challenge is how we turn it into actionable knowledge by the countries who are sharing and the countries outside, so that they can bring what is necessary from financial as well as from the technical point of view. Next, please. So glacier melt now and into future, the work of ADB, I really think if we think before 2052, after 2050, those kind of scenarios, and we may think like we are in 2025 and maybe after 2050 is too far away in many of the lives of people who are being impacted. The impact before 2050 is already so big that maybe it will have serious implications for human health, for the nutrition, for the economies, and for the peace of this region. And now linking with the energy security, water security, human development, the trends are scary. And I would say already we are in the middle of the disaster, including with the biodiversity. Next, please. So if we think about one before, where are the gaps? Still, we have gaps in data in terms of the monitoring. It costs a lot to monitor. We need to continue to bring it to the attention of the member states within this region and outside, that this is a very important region where we need to strengthen the monitoring. Also, how do we link the integrated systems from glaciers to groundwater? And this is an area which personally I've been working on. So still glacier melt and the work from mostly empirical to very strong deterministic groundwater models. Where are those links and how do we continue to develop the related models and the predictability into future? And the early warning systems of precipitation, flooding, water availability, and then linking them with the economic outcomes. So we're still missing that. And also, the data systems are fragmented. We need to continue to bring transboundary data. And how do we actually build on already political uncertainties in the region? And also underfunded work which is linked with the mountains and the policy gaps, as well as from the transboundary coordination point of view. So if you ask ChatGPT and its imaging probability, you will find many questions as shown here. Next, please. Next, please. So from UNESCO, very quickly, we are promoting open science, open hydrology, and it's approved by, open science is approved by 194 member states of UNESCO, and the linking with the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, and also linking the open science with the local indigenous knowledge, and bringing the transboundary cooperation. So there are possibilities within the United Nations system, UNESCO, WMO, UNEP, and others. Next, please. So, as I said, open science already is under the soft international law. I think I invite the stakeholders through the political systems to link with the open science movement, and especially in the context of the decade of sciences from 2024 to 2033. Next, please. In this open hydrology, which is linked with open science, I think the area which we can advocate for is open hydrology infrastructure, and then linking all the way to research and the publication processes. So in this regard, we have very active national committees which can link with the organizations to help work with the data gaps as well as with the modeling methods and linking with the policy and practice. Next, please. Also, very importantly, how we continue to link open science with the integrated river basin management, catchment management, and with the nature-based solutions. So UNESCO is promoting a number of related initiatives, including what should be the data standards, so that if there are common data standards among nations, as we say with the fair and care principles, we will be able to share knowledge more readily. Next, please. And the local indigenous knowledge, I would say, is one of the missing links. And that's where the work of young people and link with the climate change. So there is a lot of goodwill as well as the data which is available. But now our challenge is how we bring natural, social sciences and the local knowledge together. Next, please. And we are promoting within APWF and especially with the government of Japan to build new guidelines for using open science and open data for integrated river basin management. Next, please. So here, Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, which is a very important vehicle, is ready, and linking with the member states outside the region and within the region, we can continue to emphasize that for the SDGs acceleration, open science, open data, and AI are the areas where we can continue to have more cooperation. Next, please. I'm close to finish. Next, please. So there are quite a few tools. You missed one if you go back quickly. Okay. So the flood drought and related ideas linking with eco-hydrology, linking with the water quality and monitoring, and linking also with the basin level efforts like UNESCO Health Program. There are quite a few areas where we can work together. Next, please. So this is the last slide, and I think also very important from the World Glacier Monitoring Service and the United Nations system coming together. I strongly invite that we should link with this initiative, and that can be part of linking science with the policy, and also linking more strongly with the possibilities of the work on biodiversity, on local indigenous knowledge. So there may be a possibility of working together for finding solutions. And with that, I thank you. We have this huge region which with significant importance for not only the people, 1.9 billion within, but beyond. And world peace strongly depends on the peace in this region. And we are already experiencing the impacts of climate change. We do not have to wait to 2050 or past 2050. The situation is already dire. And we need to form those partnerships which can promote open science and open data, and projects which can be across countries to help the member states in this region to look for water security, energy security, food security, and related initiatives of education, and how do we bring the latest technologies like artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. With that, I thank you, dear Faisal.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So interestingly, your insights connects very well to earlier presenters, especially the gap and science limitation part, where most of us comes from the science background, and we are doing fairly well on that, but science has its own limitations, where our presenters already mentioned that how they are engaging with communities and policymakers to make science communicatable and then actionable. Thank you very much, Dr. Shahbaz. Please stay with us. We'll need your support in conducting this panel. So, and then continue the conversation with our panel members. So before going to the question answer session, we will have a video, a very short video, very interesting video on Indus Basin, that how communities are being challenged by the risks in those geographies. Please. No, I request my panelists. Okay, I'll call you back.
कुतुब शुमाली और कुतुब जनूबी के बाद यहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा ग्लेशियर्स पाए जाते हैं। पूरे जो पाकिस्तान है उनके लिए एज अ वाटर टावर कहा गया है।
जहाँ जहाँ इंडस गुजरता है वहाँ पे आपके मिलियंस लोग इसी पानी पे डिपेंडेंट हैं। तो समझ लें कि अगर ग्लेशियर्स यहाँ से रिट्रीट कर जाते हैं तो कितने लाइफ रिस्क पे होंगे।
हम कहाँ से आए थे, हम कौन हैं, हमारी रगों में किसका खून बहता है। पहाड़ों से लेकर अरेबियन सी तक एक ऐसी चीज़ें जो बहती है, दरियाए सिंध, हम सब की माँ, जिसने इस इलाके के सहराओं को ज़िंदगी दी है, इसके पहाड़ों को ज़िंदगी दी है।
Yeah, it's just the trailer, and then we have full videos available. Maybe if our colleague can show this QR code, so to get, yeah. Okay. Please scan it. I request panelists to please come back. And then I also request Dr. Shahbaz, if you can kindly come in. So we had a very insightful keynote presentation, and then views from our institutional views from colleagues in the panel. So let us get into some conversation with those colleagues. We'll put some questions from ourselves, but we also request our panelists to, if put questions to each other as well. We know that you have been interacting in your work as well as in previous collaborations, if you can reflect on that. So yeah, I'll request Dr. Shahbaz, if you can start with the questions.
Okay, thank you very much, dear Faisal. So it's going to be very interesting because we have online as well as on-site presence. So I think to keep it very simple, we need to explore where are the barriers from a science to policy. The science has been done for long enough. The trends are very well known. Why we have these discussions of making a difference from a point of view of the policy and its implementation. And it's not just a question for the technical organizations, how we can link with the political processes within HKH. So that would be one area I would request our colleagues to quickly give their perspectives, and then we can follow with the second question through you, dear Faisal. If that's okay, we go one by one and get some quick reflections.
Good. Dr. Alok, if you can start with it. Yeah.
All right. So, yes, it was an interesting question. And, well, I mean, I think I can be on both the sides because I have been a researcher myself and presently also. But also I was at the Policy Think Tank of India, Planning Commission of India. I have made many policies which are still running in India. And be it PM, many of them, I'm not going to name them. What happens, to tell you the truth, even when I moved into this policy space in the government of India, and before that when I was director of ICAR Institute, the kind of the results and the research which I always used to say this is one of the best things to be taken to the field, and I got it also bankable from NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture Rural Development. But when I move on to that stage where it has to be applied throughout the country, you have to think 101 times because you are not just doing it at one place, you are doing it across the scale. And so what happens that more often than not, we do good amount of research, but it has to be more solution-oriented, more looking at the government policies and the strategies and the programs, and that is what we call research for development. And this is something which is missing. Because no matter that wherever we get the funding, we'll do the research, whether the policymakers, they need that kind of research. So we have to really focus on more problem-solving research, more coming with a strategic solution. I know that as a researcher, we have to look into the basic and strategic research as well. Because I used to be questioned by my own minister that why the research is not going to the field. So my simple answer was, at least we have to devote some percentage of our resources and time to do the basic research. Because what today we are seeing that things have been scaled up, some 40 years, 30 years back, we did that basic research, and now it has become more of applied and the field-based research. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we do not look into in a more holistic picture when we are looking into that. Even if I'm doing a component research, but I have to look into the bigger picture in mind that where this component research will fit into a larger system. Because in a government, when you work as a policy, you follow a system approach rather than an individual component. So I think I'll leave it over here because there are many things, otherwise I can go on and on.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Alok. I request Dr. Sinha if you can bring in your perspective from IUCN on the same question. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Fazal. And I completely agree. I mean, Dr. Sikka has a very long experience on this. When we look at more from the nature-based solution or really transboundary cooperation perspective, what is the gap between the science and policy? So many times, what is happening is that, as Dr. Sikka was also mentioning, science part is done by academic sector. The process that is followed is very academic and not action research oriented in many cases. Even if when we get the results, how we use those results to understand that what it translates into actions on the ground, what it means for the different stakeholder groups. So even if the research is, indicating that, this is how you have to do something, in reality, we are working in a multi-utility landscape where there are different types of land uses and stakeholder priorities. So I think this is the big challenge, that how we develop a common understanding and consensus among stakeholders for a joint vision at a landscape or a basin scale. And that would require a better understanding of trade-offs. So I see some of the speakers were talking about the nexus approach. So I think for consensus building and really practical application, what you need is a better understanding of, if you do this, then who are the stakeholders who are going to benefit, who will take the impacts, and why, what are the long-term solution and what is short-term. So maybe in like one example, very quickly, I would like to give from policy. Many times we see the conflict in policy. So say agriculture and food security policy, prioritizing food security over long-term ecosystems or, water security considerations, because from them, it is all about food security. One good example comes from Bangladesh, where it is documented that, say, Har region, the ducks are not very good because it is in the eastern Australian flyway. A lot of migratory birds come in. But when you put duck farming as a big, agenda to achieve food security, it has long-term implication. Ducks numbers are increasing. They are eating away all the fishes and local, habitat. And short-term, yes, you are achieving your target. But if you look at 10 years, it can have a devastating results. So I think that's where I feel the nexus, building consensus, and looking into the future is important.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sinha. So we have with us Mr. Declan. Yeah, there has been some confusion around the time. I'll request Mr. Declan to come forward and then give us some perspective, ADB's perspective on dealing with water and climate resilience in the HKH region. And then we'll have some follow-up questions. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Can I just check that you can hear me okay?
Yes, it's very
Very good.
Great. Well, yeah, no, it's really, really great to be able to participate and great to see so many great people around the panel. And I would love to have been able to sort of join a little bit earlier, but I hope I'll get the chance to hear and catch up on what everyone said in the session at some point in the future. But what I wanted to do, if it's okay, is just maybe turn the focus a little bit to financing and operations around this. So really, that's where ADB has put its focus. So this year being the International Year of Glacier Preservation, we've had a big focus on that and what that means for mountain communities across Asia, and particularly thinking about what the financing and operational aspects of that are. So I think I don't want to repeat messages that may have come earlier, but I think the sort of core thing, and this isn't just unique to this issue, but there is a clear need to mobilize significant finance to help developing countries respond to glacial melt and broader river basin management. And countries really, really need to make investments. And this might be in sustainable agriculture, it might be in making infrastructure resilient. And this is going to require significant finance, both from the public and private sector side. And very much what ADB has been focused on is thinking about how it, as a multilateral development bank, is going to be able to be I suppose, a conduit for significant resources. So, for example, ADB's working closely with the GCF on the Glacier to Farms initiative in Central Asia, for example. Central and West Asia is a critical thing. But finance is one thing, and it's always important, and we always point to the need for finance. But finance needs something to finance, so to speak. And so I think another key aspect to all of this is ensuring that alongside thinking about financial solutions, that you also think about how you build up a pipeline of investable projects that offer countries operational solutions. So it's not just enough to think about finance and how you mobilize that. You've got to think about what are practical solutions at scale that can be done to support, as I said, sustainable agriculture, to support infrastructure development in a way that countries can continue to deliver the services and meet their development objectives, given some of the changes that we expect to see in coming years and decades. So that's a really important aspect. It's finance without emphasis on the pipeline, unfortunately, isn't going to make a huge difference. The other thing as well is coming in on the private sector side. We talk a lot about the need to mobilize private sector finance, and I think that's the narrative tends to be there's a big financing need. The public sector can only go so far, and therefore private sector needs to come in for the rest. And I think broadly that's right, but we also need to be quite specific about what needs to happen to bring in the private sector finance. And I suppose what I would say here is I'd underline the fact that there's a really critical need for a role for the government. So in a sense, the governments need to shape the markets accordingly. If you want to mobilize private sector investment, then those markets need to be shaped accordingly to be able to mobilize that finance. And in addition to that, institutions like ADB and other MDBs also need to work closely with countries to mobilize their own sources of finance to tackle some of these issues. For example, that could be in capital markets and helping to build up some of the infrastructure that would take us there. So using some of the innovations that can be brought in, both to crowd in private sector, but also public sector financing. And I think maybe just to conscious that we're coming close to the end of the session, my last point around all of this, and I know there's been a lot of discussion on science, but what's really, really critical for the finance and the pipeline ecosystem to work is you really, really need strong collaboration, because what you need to do is translate scientific good practice into investable projects. So you need collaboration between the scientists, the policymakers, and the financiers. And I can guarantee if you want to go out and mobilize finance at scale, the best way to do that is if you've got a strong scientific basis upon which to build that. And that is absolutely essential. So I think when I see sessions like this, I'm really excited because you're bringing together some of the different minds, the scientists, with some of the policymakers, with some of the financiers. And I think that's really, really key to the whole problem. Let me stop there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And very comprehensive overview of ADB's scope of work in the HKH region. And then very interesting to hear that you are helping countries in mobilizing their own resources. Probably the way our situation is evolving, probably multilateral funds will not be enough to fill in the gap, the vast damages which are, and sometimes being referred to as $400 billion a year in the HKH region. Thank you very much, Declan. We'll come back to you, and then we will have another round of questions still on the solutions, that what are the challenges related to challenges and solution. I'll put a question that how glacial and watershed models be better integrated into national and basin level policies. EC Mode, IMI has been working on that. I request Dr. Chang if you can elaborate on that. Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you. So I think as also mentioned by Declan, so this year is officially declared as an International Year of Glacial Preservation. And also from this year, the next 10 years will be the decadal action for the cryosphere science. I think this is a very important window and time for people to really come together to think about the cryosphere. And ISMOD, actually, we are already present in our presentation, and we have been working in cryosphere for over 40 years. And we started to collect the information across these regions and produce the products. And also we bring the stakeholders and the scientists together to really think about the issues in an integrated way. So for glaciers, actually, originally I'm a glaciologist. So my feeling is that, so one thing is that actually, so compared with 20 years ago, so currently we, not only scientists, but also the policymakers, public, they have enough awareness. They know that they want to address these issues. But another problem is we do not have enough solutions to really address these issues. And the second thing is I want to emphasize that actually the cryosphere is changing faster and even intensive than we imagine. And this is faster than scientists also. Because I would say that maybe 10 years ago, the knowledge is already outdated. So when you see that glacier melt, so 10 years ago, when we think about a glacial lake outburst, but this year we already observed more than 2 or 3 events in Himalayas. And most recently, one major, I would not say it's a glacial lake outburst, but it's damaging the border bridge between China and Nepal. But after that, we figure out that this is not a glacial lake outburst. It is a super glacial lake. So mean that the glacier melts and then also the in-glacial hydrology develops. And those water has been outbursted from in-glacial. So this is different. This is already beyond our imagination. So the second thing is just now also Professor Shambas talk about peak water. So peak water is also 10 years ago. But when we think about that, you may notice that maybe 3 months ago there's new research. Because we are already exceed the 1.5 degrees threshold, so we are going to facing the scenario of this overshoot. And what will be the glacier melt in the overshoot? So this is all the things we need to consider. And so the key message is that we need to keep update of the science, and also we need to collaborate with the scientists more closely, and also to build up more platform to technology to speed up to address issues collectively. This is my key message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chung. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are a little bit challenged with time, sir. We need some questions from audience as well. Okay. If I can move on.
No, this modeling, because...
Oh, sure, sir. Please move ahead. Yeah.
Now, you see, a lot of people are doing modeling, hydrological modeling. And of course, there are many governments. In the government systems, it is being used. I would not say that it has not been integrated in the, at least in India, at number of basin scales modeling is being done. Now the question is that when we do modeling for the modeling per se, but how those modeling results are interpreted for more actionable actions and the policies. That is where perhaps we have to lay more emphasis, because when we are looking into just we simulate runoff and flow and do that, it's not going to end over there. Because you have to tell to them that how at the sub-basin level or the basin level, this information is going to become useful for you to take certain actions. Because otherwise, there are plethora and plethora of everybody is doing PhD and masters in hydrologic modeling. So, I mean, time is less, otherwise I can go on and give many solid, good examples where it is working.
Thank you, sir. Very pertinent advice that modeling for modeling will not serve the purpose, but yeah, modeling has to have a purpose. Yeah. Okay. Moving forward, I'll move towards ADPC's colleague, just to get reflection on how ADPC using NBS to manage transboundary climate and disaster risks while aligning riparian countries and joint monitoring systems. Dr. Sinek, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. I think as we have been discussing so far, last few days or so, we had quite similar the sessions on NBS and how that is helpful for, in particular, transboundary issues as well, to address those issues. So let's try to understand why NBS. NBS is a kind of like, cost-effective solution, and it's very much attractive to the people as well. And then it leverages the hydraulic and hydrological information upstream to downstream. So if we just implement some projects and programs in NBS in the upstream, so that will certainly benefit to the downstream. For example, like, health ecosystems upstreams, like, maybe flood frames, forests, that will, of course, reduce the flood risks, and as well as sediment erosion or river erosion, so on and so forth. There are sort of like, many advantages. So in order to get into the how the situation, so I think we should be promoting like, maybe sort of like, data and knowledge sharing platforms. That also leads to a sort of trust building from, both the sides, like upstream as well as downstream. And then they can also do some joint monitoring systems. So maybe during the peak, the flood events, maybe at the sort of border gauges. So the peak gauges, the levels, they can share each other. And during dry season, of course, the base flow, so on and so forth. So these are sort of ways and means and to promote transboundary cooperation and getting into this NBS. As I was mentioning a while ago, that NBS is a kind of I feel, or we feel that it's very much feasible solution than maybe doing flood control using dams. When it comes to dams, so it's not only for what you call the flood control. It will lead to several other usages, like for an example, hydropower, so on and so forth. So that may not be working so easily with transboundary cooperation. So this type of solutions we can think of, and then that's the way we can address the answer. I stop here because I know that you are facing some difficulties with the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sneha. Dr. Shabazz, is it fine to go to audience now, or we have any other questions for the panel?
No, we have limited time, dear Dr. Faisal. Please let colleagues be engaged with the process here.
Colleagues, any questions, please? Yeah.
Hello, thank you so much, everyone. I'm Sobia from Hunza, Pakistan. I'm a human geographer by training and looking at climate change, cultural implications in mountain communities of Pakistan. You all spoke about engaging diverse stakeholders or having the dialogue between science and policy. And sometimes, like the way you presented either youth or women, so how about the local epistemologies the older generations have? Do you have any avenues or opportunities to foster intergenerational dialogue? Because sometimes intergenerational wisdom that they have lived would not really, it may contradict what science is saying. Because we have seen lately some shepherd in North Pakistan actually alerted community about floods where there was already early warning system. So how do you think about fostering intergenerational dialogue in science and policy realms? Thank you.
So we'll pick two more questions. Okay.
Very short.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Imran. Quite interested in early warning systems because I work as a water management expert, but I see floods and droughts are now very much part of our work. I think I've seen also from yesterday, there are many early warning systems being developed by IMI, by ADB, by UNDP. Everyone is building them. I want to know whether we already have enough early warning systems or everyone needs to still keep working on this because every year we're still seeing more than 500 people are dying, especially in the Hindu Kush Himalayan regions because of these GLOF events. So is it the lack or let's say the limitations of the early warning systems? Is it the lack of action or no action based on these warnings? Or is it that there's just so much extreme uncertainty in these climate events that we're just not able to capture it? So I just want to know what is the reason and what our resources and time should be focusing on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My name is Kenny Ogunjobi. I'm the incoming country rep for IMI for Ghana and West Africa. So I'm so delighted to meet Dr. Sika. My question actually goes to you, and thank you to all the panelists for the fantastic presentation. My question to Dr. Sika is, given your experience from Bangladesh and India with the wide regional scope and population which you showed us, I want to know, as an incoming CR, what do you think is the most valuable strategy? Do you think you found very efficient in ensuring how your rich research evidence directly impacts government policies in Bangladesh and India? And what lessons do you think those of us from West Africa can also learn from your wide experience? Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll close for now, but let me assign the panelists let me take this job. I request Dr. Sinha if you can kindly talk about intergenerational dialogue. I know you have been tremendous work on soft science along with hard science. If you can, how far we have gone, or did we ever touch this thing, intergenerational dialogue on water resilience issues? Yeah.
I think, thank you. You're asking me, right?
Yes, yes.
So intergenerational dialogue is happening. I think, youth are also, very smart.
Okay.
The question is that where and how
Okay.
we do that. So there are different strategies. So within big forums like as IUC, and we organize regional conservation forums. So using the big regional platform as a space for intergenerational dialogue and engagement. So that is one of the ways, like maybe it could be regional conservation forum or making a knowledge forum. And then using the outcomes from these dialogue to, build the capacity and understanding of the youth, help them build this strategy.
Sure.
Then there are also examples, I think it is about how we are doing it. So when you are co-creating knowledge, whether it is about a model or how you implement a financing strategy for conservation of a glacier or a wetland. So that's where I think through expert consultation or joint engagement strategy, you can bring in youth and practitioner together. So
Thank you very much, Dr. Sena. We don't have time we'll have it during the lunchtime, those question things. I request Dr. Shabazz to quickly, briefly, make some closing remarks. Dr. Shabazz, over to you.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Faisal. What we have started, it needs a lot more time, that's for sure. And these are very critical issues. So I congratulate all the partners, the co-conveners, ADB, ADPC, ECMOD, IMI, and IUC and Asia. So you have added wonderful reflections. Also, very importantly, the questions which have been asked about intergenerational knowledge and equity, and whether the early warning systems are failing or whether our research is appropriate or not, and how do we make links with policy. These are very important questions. So while having joint actions is not an easy task, we need to work together. We can't afford to be in silos. The challenges with glacier modeling, to link with the river modeling, to link with the climate and disaster risk reduction, whether the science is ready, nature-based solutions, whether we know them well or not, whether the financing is ready or not, these are still issues which need to be continued to be asked to bring inclusive and evidence-based action. We don't view HKH as a water tower. It is about life of people. And we need to continue to bring what is necessary. So I think time has run out, but congratulations to everyone for bringing this session and for your wonderful moderation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. We close now.